Hey everybody, it's Elektra Yao, immigration attorney, entertainment law attorney, and today I want to talk about the EB1A. This is something that lots of clients are interested in, and I want to talk about the one thing that you need to know while you are thinking about or preparing for the EB1A application. So this is just right before you get with an attorney and you decide to work on this type of case. So what's the one thing that you need to know? So before we start talking about that, I want to backtrack. Let's talk about your O1 if you're here on your O1. If you are here on your O1 and you are here on an agent-based petition, you should be hustling. You should be working as much as possible within the bounds, of course, of your O1 so as to not violate the terms of your visa. But for those of you who file on an agent-based petition, there's a lot of stuff that can be done to really maximize your professional opportunities and maximize your professional profiles. And if you're not doing that yet and you have hopes of applying for the EB1A, you really need to start that yesterday. I know that right now it's a challenging time for everybody, but I think that it's really important to just remember that you should be doing the best thing possible for you, your career, and your immigration trajectory. So for work visas, we all know that you need to have a job offer, you need to have a letter of intent, you need to have all different types of proof to prove that you will actually be working in the US. Now, for the EB1A, there is no job requirement. So we don't need to submit an offer letter, we don't need to submit a letter of intent, we don't need to submit a work contract. All of that can be considered to be supporting evidence, but it is definitely not a requirement for the EB1A self-petition green card. So you might be saying, Elektra, what is it that I actually need? How am I going to prove to the government that I'm actually working? Well, what we're going to do, or what you're going to do, is you're going to submit an affidavit or a declaration or a letter of intent to continue to work in your career. These are things that we usually include in the EB1A petition, in the EB1A application, because like I said, there's no job requirement. You don't need an offer letter. You don't need any of that for the EB1A petition. What you do need, though, is to demonstrate that you will continue to work in your field. So we have a question, Susan Vallecillo. Yes, I speak Spanish, but today I am going to be speaking in English, and maybe I'll answer some questions in Spanish afterwards. But this is wild if you think about it. There is no job requirement for this type of green card. So basically, it is all based on you. It is based on your merit. It is based on your achievements. It is based on what you've done in your field and in your career. You don't need to rely on an employer. You don't need to rely on a family member. You don't even need to rely on future work, which is necessary for all work-based visas. So, like I said, when we started this conversation, we were talking about your O1 and being here in the US working on your O1. You really want to hustle and do as much as you can to maximize that professional profile so that when you do get down to writing your letter of intent to continue to work in your field, or your declaration, or your affidavit, you actually have proof to say that you will continue to work in your field. Because again, it is not a requirement to have a job offer. You just need to prove that you will continue to work in your field. And one way we do it is with a letter of intent. Now, of course, you want to prepare the strongest case possible. You want to make sure that you've got a really nice, tight EB1 case, because you don't want an RFE, you just want to get your green card and continue to work in your field. So supporting evidence that we include in addition to that letter of intent or that affidavit or that declaration that you will continue to work in your field is an itinerary. Now, for those of you on your O1 or on your P1 or P3, you'll know what an itinerary is. You know that it is basically an outline of potential future work that you will be undergoing while you are in the States. And I like to include those if we have that information. So sometimes for models, photographers, it is really who work in high fashion, it's very difficult for them to get these types of itineraries, because I know in the field, it's just, you know, it just, the nature of the field is you really know what you're going to do, like the day of or the day before. But for more of my traditional artists, so maybe like my fine artists, maybe like my actors or directors or my creative directors, if you know types of projects that you're going to be working on in the future, if you know that you're going to be doing a shoot for Vogue in the near future, even though it's not confirmed, that will definitely go in your itinerary. Remember, we're not proving that you have future work. We're proving that you are going to continue to work in your field. And if you think about it, guys, that's pretty wild. It's a great opportunity to continue to remain in the States. You're self-petitioning for yourself. You're not relying on a family member. You're not relying on an employer. You're not relying on priority dates because EB1As are current. This really depends on you. And if you think about it, like I said earlier, it's wild. But this is kind of the cornerstone of what America is, kind of relying on your own forces, relying on your own way of working, and being able to benefit from that. So like I said, if you guys are here on your work visas, especially O1s, because O1s, you can work for multiple employers and add additional performances and engagements throughout your validity period. You really should be maximizing those opportunities. For those of you who are on different types of visas where you're tied to an employer, you're really limited on as to what you can do outside of your employment with that company. So you want to make sure that you're doing really, really great things and important things within that company. I always say there's no job for me that's too low or too high. And I do everything because I'm curious and I want to learn. And you should, if you're tied to an employer, that's how you should approach your job, because you want to maximize those achievements and those accomplishments so the attorney that you work with has a lot of room to play with. If you're not doing that, I strongly suggest you start doing that, because it will enrich your work life, but it will also strengthen your professional profile to be able to self-petition for the EB1A green card. Now, I will give you another tip. I know a lot of people think the EB1A green card for extraordinary ability is just for artists, but let's break down what an artist is and what it means to be an artist. So a lot of the times people think about like traditional painters and things like that, but that's not what an artist is in terms of the legal arguments that we include to support what a creative and artistic person is. So if you're a model, you're an actor, you're a dancer, you're a fine artist, you're a visual artist, you're a director, you're a creative director, you're a product designer, you are a designer, a fashion designer. All of these professions and way more are included in what an artist or what a creative professional is. So I've been talking a lot about the EB1A, and if you have any questions,
it's 1 o'clock.
Please feel free to email me, send me a message on TikTok. Right now I'm live on TikTok, and I'd be happy to answer your questions and clarify things. But just before we go, I want to leave you with two professions that sometimes people are always shocked about that I've worked on successfully to secure their green cards. One is a makeup artist, and another one is a tattoo artist. So if you have any doubt as to whether or not you think that you are a creative person or an artistic person, please, I think that you should reach out and call me, and let's have a conversation, a consultation to talk about what creativity actually is. I'm actually one of the few attorneys that has an arts background, that has a creative background, that understands the arts and how it applies to the law. So that means that you're going to have a different sort of experience when you're working with me, because I can talk to you about Julian Schnabel, I can talk to you about Liza Minnelli, I can talk to you about different types of artists that have impacted creatives and artists in their career. So like I said, EB1A, pretty wild, self-petition. You don't need a green card, or you don't need an employer. You don't need a sponsor. This is something based on you and your merits. And if this is something that you're interested in applying for, or you're curious to see whether or not you qualify, call us so that we can have a consultation and discuss this. Any questions, leave me a message via email, leave me a message in the TikTok comments, and I will be happy to answer and clarify. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.